Following 22 years of what I believed to be an unshakable marriage, I uncovered my wife's clandestine life with her true soulmate. However, when my daughter, looking straight into my eyes, said Mom deserved happiness with another man, a part of me fractured. In the courtroom, I stunned everyone with my unexpected action. 3 years elapsed, and upon their return, they encountered the true nature of the man they had deceived. Neil Elliott, aged 45, was the one who once thought he had everything under control. A thriving small business I'd established myself, a suburban home in Portland's outskirts, a wife of 22 years, and a daughter whom I was immensely proud of all elements of the quintessential American dream, as viewed by outsiders. My life, as it seemed, was an embodiment of this dream. I crossed paths with Irene during my final year at Oregon State. She was a journalism student, exceptionally intelligent and possessing a laugh that could illuminate any room. In retrospect, the moment I spotted her at the university cafe, engrossed in her laptop, seemingly oblivious to her surroundings, remains vivid. After 3 attempts and a strategically spilled coffee, I managed to capture her attention. Initially irritated, she softened with a smile, leaving me smitten. Although we might have been too young, our conviction was unshakable. 8 months following our initial date, I made my proposal at a summer festival on the waterfront. The ring had depleted 3 months' worth of my part-time job earnings, but her reaction validated every penny spent. "Did you mean it?" she inquired, tears trickling down her face. Our future stretched before us. "That's why I'm confident," I replied. "I desire to spend that entire future with you." A year later, we welcomed Cassandra into our lives. An unexpected pregnancy, yet when Irene informed me, it felt just right. Experiencing the world for the first time holding my daughter, a miniature, flawless being bearing Irene's eyes and my obstinate jawline. In that instance, I silently pledged to offer her the universe. The initial years were a captivating blend of turmoil. I was just embarking on my landscaping venture, working 14-hour shifts as Irene completed her studies and looked after Cassandra. Residing in a compact apartment where one could hear neighbors quarreling through the paper-thin walls, we were typically impoverished, subsisting on ramen and counting pennies until payday. Yet, we were content. There is something enchanting about striving together that unites you. Each minor triumph was cherished, securing a new client, Irene selling her initial freelance article, Cassandra taking her first steps across our cramped living room. "We're constructing something genuine here," Irene would remark, nestled against me on our second-hand couch after Cassandra had at last drifted to sleep. "Something lasting." In my heart, I trusted her completely. We were the pair that managed to thrive. The ones destined to age on a porch swing, encompassed by grandchildren and recollections. At 16, Cassandra, our lives were flourishing. Elliot was successful with landscaping contracts across the city, while Irene rose through ranks to become features editor at Portland Tribune. We owned a house, took family trips, planned for college education. We'd achieved success, or so I assumed. Unbeknownst to me then, the basis of our life together wasn't as robust as I believed. It didn't take much for the edifice to crumble around me. After 22 years of matrimony, you develop a sixth sense about your spouse. I could sense when Irene was distressed by her meticulous dishwasher loading, unlike her usual hurried method. That's why I became aware of her frequent late-night office stays on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. She'd announce a large tale, leaving her bag near the door long past when dinner had grown cold. Her reason was plausible. She'd been tasked to uncover corruption within the city council, but there seemed to be a hiccup. I'd established my landscaping business by relying on my intuition. Whenever a slope appeared unstable, I'd fortify it despite client objections regarding additional costs. Now, those same intuitions were warning me. One evening, following the completion of a significant project for the city's new Riverside Park, a contract that had occupied my team for 6 grueling months, I resolved to catch Irene at her workplace unexpectedly. I ordered takeout from her preferred Thai restaurant and headed downtown. The Tribune building was scarcely populated at 9 p.m. The security guard, who knew me from company events, allowed me passage with a cordial nod. "The 7th floor is primarily dim, sir. Not certain if your wife's still here. I found the features department quiet and dark, except for a solitary desk lamp in a corner office. Peering through the glass door, I observed Irene engaged in a call, chuckling heartily, something uncommon at home for quite some time. Clutching the takeout bag, I could have invaded, sought clarification. Instead, I retreated into the darkness and observed. She appeared altered, vibrant, a reflection of her former self that I hadn't seen in years. Upon disconnecting, she gazed at her phone for an extended period, a faint smile gracing her lips. She then hastily typed something before setting it aside. I discreetly vanished before she noticed me, discarding the uneaten food in an outdoor bin. That night, I lay next to her in bed, listening to her breath and questioning who was on the receiving end of that call. The following morning, I undertook an act I had never contemplated. While Irene was showering, I scrutinized her phone. No signs of suspicious calls or messages in the recent history. Either I was paranoid or she was being cautious. In 2 days, I received my response. Cassandra used my truck to shift furniture to her college apartment. Upon returning, she gave me back my keys along with a credit card statement found in the dashboard. Dad, why were you at the Riverview Hotel last Friday? I believed you were attending a landscaping convention in Seattle. However, I hadn't visited either location, but I instantly recognized who had been using my business credit card. I don't make decisions without concrete proof. After 2 decades of establishing my business, I learned to delve deep before taking any action. So, I enlisted Mike, an old buddy who is a former cop, and had a favor owed due to me landscaping his entire property at cost. "You're certain about this, Neil?" Mike questioned, as we sat in his vehicle outside the Tribune. "When you know something, you can't unlearn it. I need the truth," I replied firmly. The credit card bill displayed a hotel fee during a time when I was supposedly out of town. Either my card had been stolen or Irene was meeting someone and concealing her activities. Following a week of observation, Mike phoned me amid a client meeting, stating somberly, "You must see this," pointing to Riverview Hotel. I apologized and delegated the remainder of the presentation to my foreman. Within 20 minutes, I parked in the hotel lot. Mike indicated a silver Audi cornered there. "That's not her car," I replied, furrowing my brow. "No, but she had arrived in a cab 40 minutes prior. The Audi belonged to someone else." He handed me his camera with a telephoto lens. Through it, I observed a tall man with salt and pepper hair glancing at his watch before entering the hotel. There was something eerily recognizable about him. "His name is Damon Reeves," Mike informed me, "an editor at Seattle Sentinel supposedly. Irene and he had collaborated years ago." The name struck me like a tangible impact. Damon, I realized, referring to the man she dated before me, whose name she sometimes mentioned with a far-off gaze, the one who had relocated to Seattle for his career right before we met. "I've had enough," I declared, returning the camera. That night, I chose not to challenge Irene. Instead, I arranged a meeting with our longtime family therapist, Dr. Winters. I told Irene it was regarding my strain from managing business growth. She consented quickly, likely relieved I hadn't probed her story about the overnight conference. During our consultation, Dr. Winters inquired about our relationship. "To be honest," I said, gazing straight at Irene, "I feel like there's a shift between us." She fidgeted uneasily. "We've both been preoccupied. It's just a passing phase." "Is there anything else you'd like to discuss, Irene?" Dr. Winters asked softly. "Anything significant that Neil should be aware of?" "That's what transpired," Irene replied, looking at her vibrating phone. A small crack appeared in her expression. "I've been communicating with someone," she confessed, avoiding my gaze. "An old acquaintance. Damon Reeves isn't merely an old friend," I whispered. Her head jerked up, eyes wide. Does it matter?" "It turns out that you've been deceiving me, using my credit card to cover your hotel expenses." Dr. Winters attempted to broker peace, but Irene abruptly rose from her seat. "I apologize for the manner of disclosure, but perhaps it was meant to be," she said, her voice more assertive now. "Damon and I have rekindled our relationship, and I've come to accept something I've denied for years. He has always been my match, Neil. Our relationship, it was good, but it wasn't fitting. As you sat there, your marriage of 22 years crumbled before you. As Irene explained, it seemed that you had been the backup option all along. The drive home from Dr. Winter's office was quiet and somber, laden with 2 decades of memories now reinterpreted. Every anniversary, every vacation, every tranquil Sunday morning felt like sand slipping through my fingers. At home, Irene began to pack a suitcase immediately. "That concludes it," I inquired, standing at the doorway of her bedroom. 22 years, and you're simply leaving?" She hesitated, a folded sweater in her hands. This unexpected turn of events caught me off guard. Damon contacted me about a possible position at the Sentinel, initially for professional networking purposes, yet it turned intensely personal. I managed to maintain my composure, masking the tempest within. "I believe I've been in love with him all along," she murmured almost under her breath. "Upon his departure to Seattle, I attempted to move on. With you, I established a satisfying, tranquil life. However, encountering him again—" "Spare me," I interjected sharply. "I'm not interested in being your runner-up." Exiting the room, I found myself in Cassandra's former bedroom, now used as a guest room, yet still adorned with her debate awards and childhood memories. Would my daughter comprehend this predicament? As if responding to my thoughts, the front door creaked open. "Mom, Dad," Cassandra called out from the doorway. "Why are both your cars here during the day?" Irene stepped out of our bedroom, her eyes red but her chin held high. "Cass, dear, we must have a conversation. Your mother shared with us that she has reconnected with Damon, and she feels as if they were destined to be together all along." As Irene spoke, Cassandra's countenance changed from perplexity to comprehension, though not the response I had anticipated. "Does this mean you'll finally be content, Mom?" she inquired, grasping Irene's hands. "I believe so, sweetheart," Irene answered, tears falling freely. Cassandra looked at me then, her eyes mirroring your own, filled with a peculiar blend of compassion and accusation. "Perhaps you haven't noticed, Dad, that Mom wasn't content," she stated. The betrayal struck like a tangible blow. My own child, for whom I had moved the heavens and earth, seemed to stand against me without hearing my perspective. "You do not know everything, Cass," I said softly. "I know Mom deserves happiness," she retorted decisively. "If she's discovered with Damon following so many years, isn't that significant?" In that instant, observing my wife and daughter aligned against me, something solidified within me. The structure I diligently constructed throughout my life hadn't merely fractured. It had disintegrated entirely. "You've been unfaithful to me," I eventually admitted, my voice echoing like metal in the room. "After 22 years of marriage, you violated everything we established, and now our daughter is supporting your actions." I picked up my keys and wallet. "The two of you seem to have this sorted out. I'm finished." I stayed at the Timber Lodge Motel on Portland's periphery for 3 nights, ensconced among truckers and itinerant salesmen. The faded wood paneling and persistent vending machine hums mirrored my feelings, practical yet devoid of affectation. On the fourth daybreak, I returned to the house when Irene was at work. I required documents, clothing, and time to reflect without emotional conflicts. However, what I encountered instead altered everything. Gathering financial records from the office safe at home, I stumbled upon a sealed envelope labeled Dr. Personal. Contained within were a series of letters dated over 15 years, all addressed to my spouse from Damon Reeves. Despite their estrangement, they'd maintained contact. The envelopes bore signs of careful preservation, some with tear stains, others marked with handwritten notes. The latest letter, dated 6 months ago, mentioned his divorce and hinted at a potential second chance. My hands didn't quiver, my breathing was steady, but deep within me, something fundamental changed. It erased the last lingering suspicion about whether this new development or long-term deceit. As I finished packing, Cassandra unexpectedly appeared. She halted in the doorway of my home office, questioning, "Dad, what are you doing?" To which I replied, "Gathering necessities." Blocking my way, she voiced her concern, "Mom's worried about you. You can't vanish without a trace." "Worry?" I chuckled, the sound echoing strangely within my ears. Your mother has been in love with another man throughout our entire marriage, Cass. I presented the envelope, evidence of it. She received the letters, her self-assurance wavering as she examined the dates and contents. Yet, she claimed their reconnection was recent. Lesson for you, child, even parents. Human beings can be deceitful. Tears welled in her eyes. But you and your mother were content. I concurred, my voice growing softer. Or at least I was. That's what makes this more painful. What are your plans? The only option available. Advance? But this is your house, she objected. You constructed this dwelling. You can't abandon everything. I gazed upon my daughter, so smart yet so unknowing. This ceased being my home the instant your mother decided I was inferior. And I won't let go. I'm opting for a new path ahead. I displayed the pile of legal documents I had amassed. Tomorrow, I will be submitting divorce papers. After discussing with my lawyer, your mother can keep the house. I'm moving forward. Cassandra inquired, looking vulnerable. What about me? I clarified, Cassandra. You've made it clear that your mom deserves happiness and love, and I don't wish to hinder that. I kissed her forehead and walked past her, carrying my briefcase and luggage. Her sobs echoed softly as she continued reading the letters, indicating a betrayal stretching back decades. As I distanced myself from the house I had constructed, landscaped, and filled with aspirations, I chose not to look back. Men like me don't break, we rebuild. On that quiet Tuesday morning at the county courthouse, my lawyer, Sandra Matthews, greeted me on the steps, her stride firm and determination evident. Are you positive about this, Neil? She inquired softly. Total dissolution, minimal bargaining, no fault filing, I responded affirmatively. I established my business by knowing when to cut losses and move forward, which seems applicable here. Inside, we submitted the essential documents for divorce initiation, no theatrics involved. Simply the systematic dissolution of 22 years, condensed into forms and signatures. As we were departing, Fortune had other ideas. Irene climbed the stairs with her attorney accompanying her. She halted when she saw me, her color draining from her face. Neil echoed strangely from her lips now. I'm here to file. It's already done. I responded calmly. Her lawyer, a well-dressed woman in an expensive suit, glanced at Sandra. Maybe we should negotiate the settlement terms now that both parties are present. We shifted to a small conference room, where the four of us sat around a glossy table that mirrored our warped reflections. My client is ready to be quite generous, Irene's lawyer started. She acknowledges the chaos this has caused, and I don't want anything. I interrupted. She retains the house, her retirement funds, all belonging to her name. I claim my business, personal accounts, and items already relocated from the house. Irene gazed at me, surprise etched on her face. Surely you jest. After 22 years, After 22 years, you've chosen another. I surrender. I'm merely upholding your decision by severing all ties completely. Her lawyer attempted to assert that I was entitled to more, but Sandra had my directives. We established my conditions. A clean split, no alimony for either party, and minimal future interactions. As the lawyers deliberated over specifics, Irene leaned towards me. What about Cassandra? She's distraught. Is she? I raised an eyebrow. It seemed she was rejoicing in your newfound relationship with your partner instead. That's unfair. She's stuck in the middle. No, she made a choice, just like you did. The door unexpectedly swung open, and Cassandra herself stormed in, tears streaming down her face. Parents, stop this. Dad, Mom, please. How did you discover we were here? Irene inquired. Chelsea contacted me, was the response. She's in my English Lit class, and her father is going through a similar predicament. We have been discussing it. I shared a look with Sandra, who subtly nodded. Could you all please vacate the room? I addressed the lawyers. Upon their departure, I faced my daughter. This isn't relevant to you, Cass. The divorce is between your mother and me. Didn't concern you, she echoed disbelievingly. You are my parents, and you're relinquishing everything, Dad. The house, half of everything you've worked for. I'm giving up nothing significant, I stated resolutely. I constructed my business from scratch once. I can do it again. What I won't engage in is a quarrel over material possessions with a woman who has emotionally betrayed us throughout our marriage. Standing, I adjusted my jacket. Today in court, I am surrendering my marital rights. However, let it be clear, I am acquiring something more precious, my self-respect. 6 months post-divorce, Elliott Landscaping grew to encompass 3 adjacent counties. I immersed myself in work, acquiring contracts for 2 significant municipal parks and a luxury residential development. My team doubled, and I relocated to a cozy condo with river views. Opting for a fresh start over a contentious dispute, I reaped the benefits. No regrets, no wallowing in betrayal, just progress and dedication. This approach served me until Thanksgiving, when an unanticipated guest appeared at my office door. My assistant informed me I could wait, Cassandra stated, standing from a leather couch in my office. She seemed thinner, with shadows under her eyes. You've ignored my calls. Busy, I responded, placing my blueprints down. The Monroe project is due to commence next week. Dad, she approached me, Mom sold the family home. I arched an eyebrow. That was part of the deal. It belongs to her now. They're relocating to Seattle, and they purchased a condo close to Damon's workplace using their funds. Her voice sounded tense with an emotion I couldn't quite pinpoint, maybe anger or disappointment. She didn't ask for my input. You're 20 now, Cass, she said firmly. An adult. She doesn't need your approval. That was our house. She spoke forcefully. All the memories I have are in that house. My height marks on the kitchen wall. The tree fort you built me. The garden we planted together. Now it's in the hands of strangers. I let out a deep sigh, leaning against my desk. Those are merely locations, sweetie, I replied. The memories remain with you. It seems easy for you to say this. You left everything behind without a second thought. A small crack appeared in my usually calm exterior. Is that what you think? That it was effortless? I opened the drawer of my desk and retrieved a small wooden box, the only personal item in an otherwise functional office. This is all I kept. Within were several items: Cassandra's initial lost tooth, a kindergarten sketch of our family, the Father's Day craft she made at age 10, and a tiny container of soil from our backyard, where we gave full military honors to her deceased pet hamster when she was 8. I didn't abandon what mattered, I softly mentioned. I merely refused to argue about the remainder. Her eyes brimmed with tears. I was wrong, Father, about everything. I discovered Mom's old diaries after you departed. She's been corresponding with Damon for years, even when they weren't in direct contact. She called you her safe bet, her convenient compromise. She angrily wiped away her tears. How could she write that? After all you did for us? I closed the box carefully. People perceive what they wish to see, Cass. Your mother needed to believe she had sacrificed her true love for duty. It made her the tragic heroine of her own story, and I fully believed it, she whispered. I'm truly sorry, Father. You're here now. I responded plainly. What truly matters is a fresh beginning. I turned to my daughter, the cornerstone of my existence, and felt a hardened part within me ease. How about dinner? I suggested. There's a quality steakhouse nearby. It wasn't forgiveness entirely, but it laid the groundwork. And if there's something I'm certain of, it's constructing on solid foundations. A year post-divorce, an unanticipated email arrived from Mike, my ex-police friend who'd exposed Irene's infidelity. His message read simply, "You might want to see this," accompanied by a link to the Seattle Sentinel's website. The article detailed Damon Reeves' promotion to executive editor, with Irene, now Irene Reeves, grinning at his side at some charity event. The piece recounted their rapid romance and marriage, glossing over their lengthy past. I closed the browser without reading further. Their fabricated tale no longer concerned me. That night, I encountered Ryan Johnston, a prospective client and commercial developer, at an upscale downtown restaurant. His proposed eco-friendly shopping center presented my largest potential contract. Impressive plan, Ryan remarked, pushing the portfolio back towards me. However, he was still considering Westlake Designs, who had underbid me by 15%. I clarified that they used non-native plants, which initially looked good but struggled in Oregon's climate, and their irrigation systems were inefficient, requiring double maintenance after 3 years. Ryan looked at me with renewed curiosity. Typically, men would reduce their profit margin to secure the contract. I don't compete on price, I said, signaling for another bourbon. I compete on value and integrity. My work endures. Honest, Ryan chuckled. That appeals to me. Let me ponder it. Before he stepped away to take a call, the restaurant hostess approached with a familiar figure in tow. Dad, Cassandra exclaimed. She was with a young man who seemed somewhat recognizable. Dad, this is Jason Miller, he explained, from my environmental policy seminar. The neatly dressed young man extended his hand. Mr. Elliott, great to see you again, sir. After some awkward greetings, I invited them to sit with me. As Ryan rejoined us, Cassandra effortlessly engaged him in a discussion about eco-friendly construction methods, a subject she'd become well-versed in through years of family dinners discussing your business. By dessert, Ryan was sufficiently impressed to shake my hand firmly. Elliott Landscaping gets the contract. Your daughter here clinched the deal. Any father who raised such an informed young woman must do quality work. After he departed, Cassandra smiled brightly. Did I just help you secure a significant client? Yes, you did, I admitted, feeling a swell of pride. You've always had your old man's business acumen in you. Now, regarding your future plans. She hesitated, looking at Jason. I've been considering my career goals. Pondered graduate school or not. Instead, contemplating if Elliott Landscaping ever thought about branching into environmental consulting, given the growing concern over climate change. Businesses might need advice on eco-friendly landscaping methods. It could be a separate division. I glanced at my daughter, confident, intelligent, and demonstrating the same entrepreneurial spirit I had at her age. That's an intriguing concept, I said cautiously, requiring someone committed to establishing that division from the ground up. I have some ideas, she replied with hope in her eyes, if you're open to hearing them. For the first time in over a year, I felt something long dormant stirring within me. Not just pride in my daughter, but excitement about the future. Not a return to the past, but a new venture blossoming. I'm ready to listen, I said sincerely for the first time since the divorce. 2 years after the divorce, Elliott Environmental Consulting prospered under Cassandra's guidance. Originally just a casual idea discussed at dinner, it had blossomed into a lucrative division of my business, employing 3 full-timers and partnered with some of Oregon's prominent developers. On a crisp autumn morning, I found myself alongside Cassandra at the grand opening of the Monroe Eco Center, our first joint venture. Mr. Elliott, Ryan Johnston approached us, champagne glass in hand, acknowledging my team's success. The city council is already considering using my firm for the riverfront redevelopment, a task that would fall under Cassandra's daughter's purview, I responded, gesturing towards her. She designed a rainwater collection system everyone praised. As Ryan drew Cassandra into conversation with some investors, I slipped away to appreciate the view. The terraced gardens, native plantings, and stone pathways all echoed my company's high standard, but the unique water features and solar integration were Cassandra's brainchild. A woman's voice next to me remarked, "You must be quite proud." She admired the landscaping. I turned to see an attractive woman around 40 examining the work thoughtfully. There was something recognizable about her. She introduced herself as Linda Mercer. "I'm the new urban planning director for the city," she said. "We met briefly at the proposal meeting last month. I'm Neil Elliott." We shook hands. "Yes, I am proud," I replied, "but I can't claim full credit for the design." "That's my environmental prodigy daughter you're talking about." She smiled. "Indeed, she is," I agreed. The wisest decision I ever made was bringing her into the business. Linda appraised me with a keen gaze. Second chances are scarce within families. Not everyone receives them. Just as I was about to reply, my phone vibrated. A text from Mike. "Saw this in the paper today. You should know" attached was an article about layoffs at the Seattle Sentinel. In the dismissals, executive editor Damon Reeves, known as recently divorced, was included. Silent, I read the message and realized it was bad news. Linda, noticing my expression, said, "Irrelevant past." I put away my phone, replying, "Nothing of consequence now." We walked through the terraced garden, talking about native plant species and water conservation. She brought up her recent move from California following her divorce. I proposed a coffee meeting to welcome her to Portland. 5 years ago, I believed I had life all figured out. 2 years ago, I thought I'd never trust anyone again. But standing here, in this place constructed on fresh starts, I remembered something I almost forgot. The future is still blank, even after the hardest chapters. When Linda smiled and agreed to my invitation, a dormant feeling woke up inside me. Not the fervor of youth, but something more stable, something based on solid foundations. On the 5th anniversary of my divorce finalization, I found myself in the backyard of my West Hills residence, amidst friends, workers, and relatives. Trees adorned with lights I had meticulously chosen sparkled, casting a glow over the terrace garden that had evolved into my tranquil haven. Ryan Johnston, calling himself, lifted his glass. He'd grown from a significant client to a cherished friend since the Monroe Project last year. Although public speaking wasn't my forte, some events necessitated the exertion. Linda subtly squeezed my hand, offering support as I swallowed hard. In retrospect, 5 years ago, I believed my life was nearing its end. As I surveyed the faces dotting the patio, I realized it was merely embarking on a fresh chapter. Just like skillful landscaping, sometimes you must clear away old growth to make way for something more magnificent. A ripple of laughter swept through the group. My Elliott Landscaping and Environmental Consulting team responded by raising their glasses in unison. Over the past 5 years, our company has expanded threefold. My daughter, Cassandra, has significantly transformed our approach to environmental design. Glancing towards Cassandra, who stood with her fiancé Jason near the fire pit I constructed last fall, I couldn't help but feel grateful. I've come to understand that opportunities for a fresh start can sometimes take unexpected forms. Turning to Linda, whose engagement ring sparkled in the firelight, I found her. We've been together for 2 years and living as a couple for one, and last month we decided to formalize our relationship. No extravagant gestures or dramatic proposals, just two people who have navigated their own challenges, choosing to construct something lasting together. As the guests started leaving, Cassandra sought me out near the stone wall marking the boundary of our property. "Your grandmother would have been proud of you," she whispered softly. "She always said you were a natural-born builder at heart." I was taken aback. "Who?" I asked. "Your mother," Cassandra clarified. "No, your grandmother." She shook her head. "They both said the same thing. You are a builder at heart. Not only your hands, but your life." This remark triggered a knot in my throat as I recalled my mother, who passed away a decade ago. She was an insightful woman. "I received a letter from Mom last week," Cassandra explained. "She's back in Portland, instructing journalism at the community college. The relationship with Damon is over entirely. Are you planning to visit her?" I inquired, maintaining a neutral tone. Eventually, she sighed. "But I'm not hastily making decisions. Rebuilding requires time for some foundations." I acknowledged, comprehending fully. "No matter what transpires with your mother, you know where home is now." As we walked back towards the house where Linda was bidding farewell to the last guests, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Not because everything was flawless, life seldom is, but because I've rebuilt according to my own terms, with my own efforts. The man I've become in these 5 years surpasses the one Irene left behind. Not in spite of the deceit, but because of how I decided to handle it. The most effective retribution wasn't resentment or reprisal, but rather crafting a life so rich that the past merely transformed into the past. With determination, Linda prepared to proceed, linking her arm with mine. "Certainly," I affirmed, conveying my agreement in every conceivable manner.